One day, a tall, handsome man carrying a chubby little baby knocked on my door. The big and little ones looked at me pitifully, accusing me of abandoning my husband and child. What? I've been single since birth. When did I get a husband and child? How come I don't know? Wife. Mom. The moment I opened the door, I was stunned by the simultaneous cries of wife and mom from the big and little ones. Standing at the doorway was a tall, straight-backed man with a high-nose bridge, gentle features, and deep, handsome contours. He wore a long, tailored men's trench coat, his entire demeanor refined and elegant. In his arms was an adorable, chubby little baby. The child's cute cat-like eyes were wide open, staring straight at me. They were big and watery, and when he saw me, he smiled so widely his eyes crinkled. His face was soft and plump, looking incredibly cuddly. I was completely bewildered by this strikingly handsome father-son duo. Thinking I might have opened the door incorrectly, I closed it, took a moment to compose myself, and prepared to open it again. Unfortunately, I wasn't hallucinating. Nor had I opened the door wrong. When I opened it once more, there they were again, one large, one small. Their identical amber eyes fixed on me, filled with surprise, anticipation, and pure joy. It felt like two kittens staring at me, eyes pleading for their owner. Sir, I think you've mistaken me for someone else, I tried to say calmly. I'm not married, I don't have a husband, let alone a child. Honey, you are my wife. The man's hopeful gaze darkened. He looked utterly aggrieved, yet he remained convinced I was his wife. Mommy. Mommy! The little boy looked like he hadn't even finished kindergarten yet. He stared at me excitedly, waving his chubby little arms, clearly wanting me to pick him up. Little one, I'm not your mommy. I looked at the little bundle of fluff patiently, explaining to him. For some reason, seeing this child in front of me made my heart melt completely. Mommy, baby, me. The little one seemed to have just started speaking, only able to utter simple nouns. He pointed earnestly at me and himself. It appeared he was trying to say, I am mommy, he is baby, I am his mommy, baby, I'm not your mommy, okay? I patiently played along. It was strange. Despite being in a constant state of anxiety lately, looking at this stranger child before me, my heart felt calm and filled with endless patience. I wasn't even someone who particularly liked children. The man stood silently beside us, watching our interaction with a gentle smile. Mommy. Baby, no. When I denied being his mother again, the little one grew upset, pouting as if ready to cry. Seeing the child on the verge of tears, I felt utterly helpless. Unaccustomed to interacting with kids, my face fell involuntarily, and I froze in place. Charlie, don't cry. Mommy just doesn't remember us. The man cooed softly to the child in his arms. Charlie looked at me and stopped his tears. His big, watery cat-like eyes brimmed with tears. But he refused to let them fall, looking both adorable and pitiful. Little Charlie's expression suggested that if I said one more word, the tears would spill, and he'd sob until he was breathless. The man kept his head bowed too. Long, thick lashes half lowered, like a puppy afraid of being abandoned. I watched the pair standing at the door with a headache, showing no sign of leaving. Neighbors overheard the commotion and came running to gawk. Finally, with the standoff going nowhere, I let them in. On the living room sofa, the two sat quietly while Charlie played happily with my cat, Noodle, who normally wouldn't let anyone near except me. Let Charlie tug at its fur without protest. I was about to call out to the man when I realized I didn't know his name. Lincoln Sheen. Honey. My name is Lincoln. Lincoln finally stepped inside, looking genuinely happy. Mr. Sheen, would you like something to drink? Charlie too? I watched the father and son look at me in unison and politely offered, honey. I don't need anything. Lincoln kept grinning at me like a goofy husky, while Charlie just made excited noises. Unable to form words, I poured Lincoln a glass of water and Charlie a glass of milk anyway. Then I sat down to watch cartoons with them. Ever since they walked in, their eyes never left me. Every time I got up to do something, they'd jump with alarm. I tried to explain that I wasn't his wife, nor could I possibly be Charlie's mother, but father and son stubbornly insisted. I was finally unable to sit still. I hesitated before making up an excuse to go into the bathroom. Once inside, I dialed 911. After explaining the situation, I returned to the living room sofa, feeling guilty, and waited, sitting there. I endured the agony, unable to look at Lincoln or Charlie. When the police arrived, Lincoln's smile froze. His eyes locked on me, but I avoided his gaze. At the station, the officer said they'd contacted Lincoln's family, We sat nearby, waiting. Lincoln kept his head down, cradling Charlie, who looked utterly clueless, like a big, hurt puppy staring at me. Honey, did I do something wrong? Are you done with me? I didn't know how to respond. Choosing silence instead, after a long while, a tall, mature man rushed over, apologetically explaining Lincoln's situation. 2 days prior, Lincoln had been in a car accident that injured his head. When he woke up, his memory was scrambled. He insisted he had a wife and, without anyone watching him, had run off with the child. As for the child, he was adopted, with no biological parents. He had always regarded Lincoln as his father, having grown up without a mother's love. After hearing this, I watched Charlie playing in the distance, his 2 baby teeth visible, smiling sweetly. I fell silent for a moment, with the truth laid bare. The mature man repeatedly assured the police he would keep a close eye on Lincoln and the child. As we walked out of the station, Lincoln clutched Charlie tightly, following silently behind me without a word. The mature man tried to pull Lincoln away, but no matter how hard he tugged, he couldn't budge him. Lincoln stubbornly stuck to my side. With no other option, the mature man came up to me, throwing caution to the wind. Miss Yi, could you look after Lincoln and Charlie for a while? I opened my mouth to refuse. 5 million. Considerate payment for taking care of them. By the time I processed it, I was staring at the 5 million that had just appeared in my phone. And the father and son beside me, beaming with delight. Indeed, no one can refuse 5 million. Lincoln's phone lit up with a message. I caught a glimpse but didn't get a clear look. Lincoln read the text. Boss, how'd I do this time? Call me again for acting gigs, I'm always available. He closed his phone without a flicker of emotion, offering no reply. Luckily, the previous roommate in the shared apartment had moved out. The spacious place had been empty except for me, and I'd been planning to find a new roommate these past few days. I looked at the father and son sitting beside me in identical, obedient postures, then thought of the extra 5 million in my account. Why find a roommate? These guys are my ready-made sugar daddies. I cleared out the room the previous roommate had occupied so Lincoln and Charlie could move in. The room wasn't small, more than enough for the 2 of them. I was about to start cleaning it when Lincoln, who'd been watching me, stood up and took the broom from my hands. Honey, I'll clean. You go rest. Lincoln began sweeping with the broom, his tone natural yet carrying an air of finality. Honey, watch Charlie for me. Thus shooed away, I sat on the sofa watching Charlie, his round cat-like eyes fixed on me. His chubby cheeks puffed out, and when he caught my gaze, he grinned, revealing a few tiny, rice grain-sized teeth. I walked over and sat beside little Charlie. He snuggled close, wobbly as he pulled himself up to stand beside me, pressing his chubby cheek against mine. Mama. Little Charlie giggled, calling me Mama in his baby voice. That single word melted my heart. Now I understood why so many people online said they'd skip men and just have a child. He was an absolute little angel, utterly irresistible. I held him loosely, afraid he might fall, indulging his every move. Noodle lay lazily nearby, licking the fur Charlie had messed up. Little Charlie was still just a kid, standing too long tired him out. So I had him sit down. Even seated, his eyes never left me, smiling happily as if nothing could disturb his silly grin. His cheeks jiggled with every laugh, melting hearts with pure cuteness. My hands itched to pinch his cheeks, they felt like dough, so soft and squishy. Little Charlie thought I was playing with him and laughed even harder, his eyes squinting into slits. But even the most fun dough gets boring. Once I'd had my fill, I let go of his round face. Seeing my hand drop, little Charlie panicked, thinking I didn't want to play anymore. He grabbed my hand with his chubby fists and placed it back on his face. His eyes sparkled at me, as if begging, keep playing. Seeing his silly expression, a mischievous urge struck me. I gave his hands a firm push. Charlie, who had been sitting perfectly still, suddenly sprawled across the sofa. Completely bewildered, he scrambled to his feet using both hands and feet. He sat up, I pushed him down. He sat up again, I pushed him down once more. This went on back and forth. Little Charlie didn't get angry. He stubbornly insisted on sitting. Just as I was having fun with Charlie, I caught a glimpse of Lincoln standing by the doorway. His gaze was gentle, lingering on us with tender affection. He must have been watching for a while, feeling awkward. I stopped pushing Charlie. Lincoln noticed I'd spotted him and walked straight over to sit beside me. I shifted uncomfortably closer to Charlie, who clung to me, looking utterly delighted. Lincoln, however, seemed a bit downcast. He didn't move closer, stopping just short of joining us. Since Lincoln and Charlie were staying at my place, the decision was so sudden that we hadn't prepared any daily necessities. Given that Lincoln told me he didn't know his way around, I took them shopping. Fortunately, the largest mall was just a short distance from my rental apartment. We took a taxi with Charlie and arrived shortly. Lincoln walked beside me holding Charlie, while I helped push the cart. I should have helped Lincoln carry Charlie while he shopped, but he insisted on holding the baby himself. I casually followed Lincoln around, scanning the mall, when suddenly a familiar figure caught my eye and froze me in place. Then, I dropped the cart and deliberately hid behind Lincoln. "Block him," I whispered, not wanting certain people to see me. Unfortunately, his eyes were sharp. He spotted me hiding behind Lincoln instantly and walked straight over. "Mila, it's you." What a coincidence. My ex came over to greet me, glancing between me and little Charlie before fixing his gaze on Lincoln. I really didn't want to engage. After all, we'd broken up, there was no reason to continue the conversation. Plus, our parting hadn't been pleasant. "Hello, I'm Mila's ex, Levi." Levi extended his hand toward Lincoln. "Hello, Lincoln, Mila's suitor." Lincoln shed his usual gentleness around me, suddenly appearing aloof and unapproachable. He glanced at Levi's outstretched hand with apparent disdain before averting his gaze, refusing to shake it. "What's this, Mila? Not long after we broke up, you've already found someone richer? And now you've got a kid to play stepmom too?" Levi's words were sharp and accusatory. Yep, he was a total chauvinist. We broke up because he was so controlling, trying to dictate every aspect of my life. When we finally split, he even demanded reimbursement for expenses during our relationship. He disgusted me to the core. Running into him now, with his snide remarks, only confirms I was right to leave him. You must be hard of hearing. I'm Mila's suitor. She's wonderful, and I love her. That child isn't mine, and I won't make her a stepmother. Lincoln's tone was even more sarcastic, his gaze intense. If she agrees, she'll be my lawful wife. Also, would you like me to find a good doctor for Mr. He? Levi, cornered and humiliated, snapped back at Lincoln. Do you know how gold-digging she is? Listening to him spew insults, my already shaky mood soured further. I was about to retort when I heard him add, "Sir, I see you're practically penniless. If she were gold-digging, why would she be with you?" Then Lincoln added with a hint of smugness, "I'm eating off Mila's table and living off her money." How exactly is she gold-digging? My jaw twitched at that. So this jerk was actually proud of himself? But considering the $5 million that had just landed in my account, let him be proud. I could handle it. I puffed out my chest, summoned my presence, echoed the nothing valuable line, and gave Levi a dismissive once-over before rolling my eyes, low on actual damage, high on insult. Levi's face turned ashen. A freeloader? Mila, I know exactly what's going on. Keep pretending. You live to prove yourself, not just to survive. Conveniently, a Chanel boutique was next door. I walked in and demanded their most expensive bag from the salesperson, nearly $1,000,000 down the drain. My heart bled, but I couldn't lose face. I strode out with the bag, looking down my nose at Levi. With utter disdain, I pulled out a single yuan coin, slapped it against his cheek as a gift, then walked away with Lincoln. Levi, humiliated, tried to step forward to stop us. Lincoln stood his ground, towering half a forehead above Levi, his imposing presence forcing that scumbag back. Tormenting trash felt satisfying. I savored the memory of my own domineering moment, though my heart still bled over spending so much on that bag. Lincoln kept his eyes on me, his expression no longer the cold arrogance he'd shown Levi, but gentle. He pretended to text on his phone, slowing his pace. I turned back, urging him to hurry up. Lincoln tucked his phone away and caught up. Just then, my phone buzzed. I opened it to see a message from Lincoln's older brother. "Miss Yi, here's next month's payment. Please keep it safe. I've been busy lately and didn't want to forget." Sure enough, my account had grown by another $5 million. Staring at the money, I recalled Lincoln's earlier actions and instinctively looked at him. Lincoln seemed oblivious, wondering why I was watching him. Ever since Lincoln moved into my home, my standard of living skyrocketed. Before, I'd grab 2 random bread rolls for breakfast to save time. After Lincoln arrived, he not only took over all the housekeeping but also cooked meals every day. His cooking skills were truly impeccable, every dish perfectly matched my preferences. Not a single one I disliked. I even wondered if he'd researched me, though then I remembered we didn't know each other. Now, every morning I wake up to a steaming breakfast on the table, and after work, I come home to a full banquet. I've even started disliking the company lunches I used to enjoy. It's true, a person's palate can easily become spoiled. My daily routine after work now consists of petting Charlie, cuddling the cat, and eating and drinking. Seeing Lincoln bustling about every day makes me feel guilty, but he insists on it. The usually easygoing Lincoln is particularly stubborn about this. Life has been so comfortable lately that even that annoying boss seems much more pleasant to me. After work, I returned home as usual. The first thing I saw when I opened the door was Lincoln. He'd been greeting me like this every day lately. I have to admit, feeling valued really is nice. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the couch. Charlie, who'd just learned to walk, wobbled over to me. His chubby little body struggled onto the sofa, then obediently started kneading my back. Ah, pure bliss. Even though Charlie's tiny and his little fists barely register, somehow it just feels amazing to I pet him while Noodle watches TV, marveling over and over at life's simple joys. Dinner's ready, Mila, Charlie. Lincoln, looking every bit the devoted husband, dutifully serves the meal. I had to admit Lincoln was genuinely handsome, over 6 feet tall, broad shoulders, narrow waist. Even through his shirt, you could sense his toned, well-defined muscles, not overly bulky but perfectly proportioned. Now he wore a pink apron, barely reaching his thighs, looking both incongruous and comical. I carried Charlie to the dining table while Lincoln turned off the TV. Glancing at a news report about recent missing women, he casually remarked, "Things have been a bit dangerous lately. Be careful commuting." I eyed the delicious meal before me, gave a half-hearted nod, and dove right in. Just as I finished work and was about to head home, a heavy downpour began outside. I watched the curtain of rain before me, nearly obscuring my vision, while the taxi I'd hailed took its sweet time arriving. Standing at the entrance, I watched my colleagues leave one by one. The rain showed no sign of letting up. If anything, it grew heavier. Out of sheer boredom, I stared at my phone, occasionally glancing up to survey my surroundings. The area was nearly deserted now, and the office had closed its doors. "Hey, beautiful," 2 thugs approached me, their voices dripping with sleaze. I instinctively stepped back, unwilling to engage. The thugs pressed closer, one even reaching out to put his arm around me. I dodged him, refusing their advances. "Sorry, I don't know you guys." Just as the thug tried to get closer again, a familiar figure appeared behind me. "Lincoln. What are you doing to my girlfriend?" Lincoln grabbed one thug's arm, squeezing so hard you could almost hear bones crack. The thug's face contorted in pain, begging Lincoln to let them go. But Lincoln showed no sign of letting up. Not wanting to cause more trouble, I tugged at his sleeve, signaling him to stop. Lincoln released his grip and barked, "Get lost." The 2 punks bolted in a flash. I looked at Lincoln, now gentle toward me, utterly puzzled. "Why are you here? Where's Charlie? You hadn't come home for so long, and it was pouring. I got worried and came to pick you up. Charlie's in the car." With that, Lincoln naturally took my bag, pulled me under his umbrella, and led me to the car. Ever since that day, Lincoln had become tense. He started picking me up from work frequently, and later even began driving me to work as well. Today, since I finished early and Lincoln had been busy these past few days, I didn't wait for him. I texted him and headed home alone. Near my apartment complex, I walked the rest of the way as usual. Winter nights fell quickly. By 5 o'clock, darkness had already settled in. The streets were deserted, and the cold air stung my skin. As I walked, I felt an eerie emptiness behind me. My gut told me something was dangerously off. I quickened my pace, feeling relieved as my apartment building came into view, when suddenly, a figure appeared behind me, shoving a towel into my mouth. The disparity in strength between a man and a woman left me helpless, like a lamb with its throat clamped shut. The towel was laced with a sedative. My consciousness began to fade. If only I'd waited for Lincoln to pick me up. Regret was useless now. As I drifted into unconsciousness, I thought, it's over. I still have so much money left to spend. Lincoln would probably blame himself. Through the haze, I thought I saw Lincoln running toward me like a savior. Gone was his usual gentle demeanor, his eyes were bloodshot, filled with hatred and fear. He snatched me from the man's grasp and then beat the man behind me mercilessly, fighting like a man possessed. I couldn't take it anymore and passed out. When I woke up, it was already noon. Lying in the hospital bed, I saw Charlie, the quiet little angel, beside me, and Lincoln sitting there. He'd stayed up all night. His eyes were bloodshot, his jawline covered in stubble, looking utterly worn out, like some weary old man. Lincoln saw me awake, helped me sit up, and asked how I was, if anything hurt. I'd simply been knocked unconscious, but luckily Lincoln had arrived just in time. "Didn't I tell you to wait for me to pick you up?" Lincoln looked slightly angry, his face stern as he stared at me. "I was wrong," I mumbled, lowering my head, unable to meet his gaze. It was true, we come so close to never seeing each other again. What if something had happened? What then? What then? What about me and the baby? Would we just have to live in agony? Lincoln left the last part unsaid. I'm still here, aren't I? I brushed it off with a half-playful tone. Seeing me like this, Lincoln's attitude softened instantly. He simply couldn't stay mad at me. You won't be so lucky next time. How are you feeling? Still in pain? Not anymore. After the police took several statements, I learned the man who attacked me was the same culprit behind the disappearances of those girls, all of whom had been brutally murdered. Hearing this sent a chill down my spine. If Lincoln hadn't arrived in time that day, I would have met the same fate. Then came the overwhelming sorrow and regret for those girls. Physically, I was fine. Lincoln handled my discharge from the hospital. Because of the incident, Lincoln had arranged for me to take leave from work. I could rest at home for 2 days. During this rare break, I sat on the couch watching TV with Lincoln beside me. After what happened, Lincoln seemed to have let go of something, returning to his usual self without the constant tension he'd carried before. Charlie and Noodle grew bored playing together and came over, forcefully pushing Lincoln aside to squeeze between us. Lincoln was forced into a corner of the couch, looking at me with a pouty expression. Little Charlie, oblivious to his dad's disappointment, adored cuddling up to me and showering me with kisses. Smack! Little Charlie's kiss sounded like popping a wine bottle cork, smearing my face with drool. Lincoln sat beside us, watching the scene with envy-filled eyes, casting resentful glances at Charlie and me. That evening, being so young, little Charlie grew sleepy mid-meal, his face burying itself in his bowl. Lincoln carried Charlie to his room, tucked him in, then came back to clear the dishes. After these days together, our relationship had progressed rapidly. We were just a breath away from breaking through that final barrier. Honey, I want a kiss too. Lincoln clung to me, clearly waiting for this moment now that both child and cat were asleep. No way. A flush spread across my face as I pushed Lincoln away. But you let Charlie kiss me. Why not me? Double standards. He clung tightly, protesting my words. You're not a kid anymore. Demanding kisses and hugs all the time? How shameless. I struggled to break free from his embrace. Kissing my own wife is shameless? Lincoln declared with utter shamelessness. Moments later, I stood in the bathroom staring at my flushed face and swollen lips in the mirror, silently cursing Lincoln for being like an old house on fire, once ignited, unstoppable. Our household had a regular shopping routine. When I was busy with work, Lincoln always handled it. Now that I finally had a break, I took Lincoln and Charlie along. At the mall, I still pushed the cart as the three of us strolled leisurely, savoring this rare moment of relaxation. I spotted a couple shopping too, but the woman sat sprawled across the child's seat at the front of their cart while the man pushed it, looking utterly content. Lincoln caught my glance. He set Charlie down, stood him up, then walked over and scooped me up in his arms. Whoa, my body went weightless, and I gasped in surprise. What are you doing? Lincoln placed me in the shopping cart. I sat there, covering my face in embarrassment, and whispered, "Put me down quickly. This is so embarrassing with all these people around. What's there to be afraid of? Who says only kids can sit here?" Lincoln pushed the cart along without a care, while Charlie, who had just learned to walk, giggled at me from beside us. Great, even more embarrassing. Charlie was walking, and here I was, a grown adult, sitting down, but it actually felt pretty fun. Lincoln pushed me forward quickly, and I watched Charlie stomp along on his little legs, trying to keep up. So tiny and adorable, struggling to keep pace. Lincoln noticed, picked Charlie up, and pushed me along. It felt like a warm family scene. Happy times are always fleeting. After a few days of relaxing at home, it's time to return to my post. While the 5 million yuan monthly income brings joy, lying around too long can make you useless. Now Lincoln picks me up from work every day with Charlie in tow. My colleagues assume I'm already married. At first I tried explaining, but the more I explained, the more confusing it got. Eventually, I just stopped bothering. Lately, the news has been reporting on that prisoner who escaped. Lincoln is scared. Every day, except for work, he sticks to me like glue, terrified something might happen to me. Today, I had to go on a business trip for a project, leaving Lincoln and Charlie at home. Lincoln gave me endless reminders to stay safe. I could sense that since the prisoner's release, Lincoln's already tense nerves were stretched even tighter. I boarded a flight to another city, and before I'd even gone far, I already missed Charlie and Lincoln. Everything went smoothly. After wrapping up the project, I prepared to head home. That evening, I'd been craving the local specialty snacks. Finally here, I had to try them all before leaving. With my bag slung over my shoulder, I walked down the street when suddenly a familiar silhouette caught my eye. Lincoln? What was he doing here? I followed at a distance, watching him from afar. He wore a crisp white shirt, his long legs striding confidently. He looked 10 years younger, radiating a vibrant youthfulness, nothing like the gentle, reserved man I remembered. It was as if he just stepped out of college. Beside him was a girl with equally striking features, dressed in a red dress. I watched them enter an upscale restaurant. I pulled out my phone and video called Lincoln. He answered instantly. "Where are you?" I asked, puzzled by the laid-back dad look he sported in the video call, a t-shirt and casual attire. "At home." "Charlie, look, it's Mommy." Charlie cooed at the screen, calling out Mama. The background clearly showed our house. I tentatively asked, "Lincoln, do you have a twin brother or sister?" "Mila, what did you see?" Lincoln didn't answer my question directly, but asked me instead. "Someone who looks just like you." I recalled the person I just seen, not just similar, but identical. "No, Mila, you must be mistaken." Lincoln denied it. We didn't dwell on the topic. After exchanging a few casual updates, we hung up. Something's off. Lincoln's definitely hiding something from me. His denial left me deeply puzzled. Back home, I realized nothing beats the comfort of your own place. Returning to enjoy Lincoln and Charlie's royal treatment felt like pure bliss, nothing could top this. After a grueling stretch, our ruthless boss finally granted us a break. Lincoln went grocery shopping while I played with Charlie at home. Charlie played Baby Bus on Lincoln's tablet. Honestly, the game was surprisingly fun, maybe a bit childish for kids, but perfect for a young woman in her early 20s. Suddenly, a message popped up on the tablet, "Boss, as requested, 5 million has been transferred." Note, acting. I stared at the 5 million that had just appeared in my account. Out of curiosity, I scrolled through their chat history. What I saw shocked me. This big brother Lincoln had hired someone to play along and deceive me. The money came from Lincoln himself. What else had Lincoln been hiding from me? I checked Lincoln's WeChat history and discovered he'd been frequently checking up on himself. Lincoln returned with a bag of groceries. I sat there watching him on my tablet. Noticing the unusual expression on my face, Lincoln set down the bag, walked over, sat beside me, and pulled me close. He saw the chat interface with the actor on my tablet. Lincoln's expression changed. He looked at me. "I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to deceive you." "You still call me honey?" I was furious at his deception. "You are my honey." Lincoln leaned against me playfully, acting all sweet despite being a grown man. "Get serious. Stop leaning on me." I pushed Lincoln away and looked at him intently. "What's the deal with this guy? And that person who looks exactly like you?" Lincoln stared at me for a long moment before resting his head on my shoulder. "That person is me." "You cheated on me?" I stared at him in disbelief. So Home Sweet Home really couldn't compete with the Wildflowers. "No, honey, it's not what you think." Lincoln saw my misunderstanding and hurried to explain. "That's my past self, me from this exact time period. As for that girl, she's probably my sister." His explanation left me utterly confused. Past and present? What did that even mean? Lincoln held me close and told me everything, why he'd called me wife the moment we met, and why he'd lied to me. He'd traveled here from the future, bringing Charlie with him. So Charlie really is my child? I looked at Charlie, finally understanding that strange bond I'd felt. Yes. Lincoln leaned against me, looking especially vulnerable, desperately seeking reassurance. Then why did you lie to me? I was curious, if we were destined to meet and fall in love, why create this elaborate deception? Because I missed you. Because I love you. Lincoln said it with such clingy affection. I pushed him away, still struggling to believe this explanation that defied science. Enough already. He's not a child anymore. I need to process this. Your explanation defies common sense. Though everything he said fit, it still felt unbelievable. No one knows whether accident or tomorrow comes first. Lincoln and I had slipped out for a late-night snack while Charlie slept, hoping for some alone time. Little did we know that prisoner had been stalking us, gathering a mob to exact revenge. Even though Lincoln was trained, facing so many was like a rock hitting an egg. We ran for our lives, trying to shake them off. Lincoln seemed to know what was coming and shoved me into a corner. Hide tight, don't make a sound. He pressed me down firmly, ready to draw them away. I grabbed his arm, shaking my head frantically in terror, begging him not to go. Don't be sad. We'll meet again. Lincoln pushed me inside with resolve. I'll wait for you in the future. With that, he drew the attackers away. Shaking, I pulled out my phone and called the police. Then I ran back. Lincoln, you can't die. Not knowing where they were, I searched aimlessly. In a dark corner, I saw Lincoln covered in blood, surrounded by those men. Just then, police sirens blared. Hearing them, the thugs abandoned me and fled. I rushed over, clutching Lincoln and pressing my hands against his wounds. Lincoln, you can't die. We never got to ride the Ferris wheel together. Don't be sad. I have to go back. We'll meet again. His face covered in blood, Lincoln gradually stopped breathing in my arms. The police arrived and arrested everyone. I followed them to give a statement, and Lincoln's body was taken away for an autopsy. I stumbled out of the police station in a daze the next morning. Suddenly remembering Charlie at home, I rushed back. At home, the little bed where the plump little ball should have been lying was empty. Only a cat and a letter remained. I opened the letter. Honey, if you're reading this, don't be sad. Charlie and I should have made it back to the future by now. We'll meet again. I'll be waiting for you there. Those few simple lines felt like a casual note scribbled in passing. Lincoln and Charlie's departure felt like their very existence had been erased from the world. Neither the police nor anyone who knew Lincoln had any recollection of him, but I knew they had truly existed. Their disappearance left me in a funk for a while. But the thought that I might encounter him someday lifted my spirits again. My family kept pressuring me to marry. I wasn't getting any younger. After repeatedly refusing, I finally gave in, thinking I'd just go through the motions, meet someone casually and then decline on the grounds of incompatibility. Early one morning, my mother dragged me out of bed, insisting I dress nicely to make a good impression. Listen, this young man is the son of my college best friend. He's handsome and has a great personality. Don't mess this up, she repeated endlessly in my ear. I nodded half-heartedly, my mind already wandering to when I'd meet Lincoln. When I arrived at the meeting spot, someone was already seated at the table. I walked over and looked at the blind date sitting across from me, side-parted bangs, the whole package. Hi. After chatting for a bit, a woman suddenly approached him, grabbed a cup of coffee, and splashed it in his face. Jerk. The guy looked utterly bewildered, and so did I. Not only do you date two women at once, but you also mess up the timing, the woman said before turning and walking away. Miss Zhang, I'm so sorry. I don't know that crazy woman, the guy said apologetically, looking at me. Sorry, my surname is Yi. You're not Miss Zhang? The guy looked completely confused. Oh my god, they got the wrong person. Help me. I awkwardly apologized to the guy and sat down at the correct seat beside me. It was empty, he must have gotten impatient and left. As I awkwardly picked at my toe, ready to get up and leave. You're Miss Yi? That voice, familiar enough to make my soul tremble. I turned to see that familiar face, Lincoln. Lincoln, the side story. Lincoln and Mila reunited in the hospital. Lincoln was visiting a sick relative, while Mila was there for treatment. Like most love stories, Lincoln and Mila endured countless hardships to be together. But the ending was tragic. Years ago, Mila was kidnapped and assaulted by thugs on her way home from work. Though she survived, the trauma left her with deep psychological scars. Throughout their years together, Lincoln tried relentlessly to heal her inner wounds, but little progress was made. Even after marriage, Mila dared not leave the house, avoiding all contact with anyone except Lincoln. By chance, Mila became pregnant. Lincoln, worried about her condition, urged her to terminate it, but Mila refused. After conceiving, Mila's condition did not worsen, so Lincoln relented. After all, this child was the fruit of their love. Unexpectedly, Mila's health collapsed after giving birth. Before the child could even learn to say mama, she passed away, never hearing him utter that word. Lincoln sank into despair for a long time, leaving the child with his mother while he locked himself in her room, drowning his sorrows in alcohol, drifting through life in a haze. It wasn't until Mrs. Cheen brought little Charlie and gave him a stern scolding that he snapped out of it, finally stepping up as a responsible father. The year after Mila's death, while taking the child to pay respects at her grave, he unexpectedly traveled back in time. Seeing Mila before him, radiant and full of life, a version he'd never witnessed, brought tears to his eyes.